Hey, everybody. Guess what? Rippaverse is going to be in the house. So very excited. What is the Rippaverse and who is Eric July? Well, that's going to happen today on our episode of Two Geeks and a Microphone.
First, you talk first. I talk first.
I will talk first. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Here on Two Geeks and a Microphone, I am your co-host, Mr. Stephen Boster, along with the one, the only, the most illustrious, the most white beardiness, Mr. Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom land. And I got to apologize real quick because apparently we are not streaming on Facebook right now. That's what had me distracted. Sorry.
Focus, Mike. Focus.
Well, it's kind of important. So, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good, everybody. Those who are joining us, we appreciate it. We still got YouTube, Twitch, and our Twitter feed. Oh, wait. Is it Twitter or is it X? I guess it's X now.
Yeah. What is he going to do with that? I mean, we always said I tweeted or so and so tweeted. What are they going to say now? I X'd. I don't know.
Right.
I don't understand how the branding is working on that.
I think a lot of people are confused. I do know that he's going for the all-encompassing app kind of a thing. Kind of like in China they have, what's it called? WeChat.
Yeah, something. Yeah,
and he's going after that kind of a thing. He goes, we just don't have that outside of China. That app, and he says it's just real popular. And so payments. I mean, come on, he's the guy. Isn't he the guy who did PayPal? So
did he do PayPal?
I think he did. And so I
do know he said that he had this plan from the beginning when he took over Twitter. That this was, this isn't like I just came up with this right off the top of my head.
Yeah, Twitter 3.0.
Yeah, so it's been in the works, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm not hugely active on Twitter anyway. It's not my favorite platform. Two Geeks is I'm trying to be active over there.
Right.
I don't do as well on Twitter as I do on Facebook. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
But we do stream on Twitter, so if you're watching us on Twitter, welcome.
Right on.
Or X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right.
Still says Twitter.
Yeah, my phone still says Twitter too. But you know what? My phone still also says Facebook. It doesn't say Meta.
That's true.
True. Yeah, I even heard Threads, even though there were Facebook Threads, even though there were like 100 million signups or whatever for it.
What is
it?
I don't even know what that is.
It is Meta's attempt to replace Twitter.
That's a joke.
And a month later, the daily users are like not even 10%. And what else did they say? Or maybe it's only like 13 or 14%. And they're not on as long. They're only on for 4 minutes per day. Whereas for Twitter, the average is 30 minutes per day. That people are on. It's really interesting. So, yeah.
Oh,
anyway, enough of that tech stuff. We're two old guys that are still trying to figure out all this kind of stuff is really what it is, everybody. So we're so glad that you're joining us. So we'll have to figure out the whole Facebook thing. We may repost on Facebook. But if hopefully, that we're also on YouTube, which is our primary where you can go. It does stream on Twitch, and we got some folks on Twitch and as well. So it is all
those three they are. So those are our primary spots. Facebook, usually we draw a pretty good audience on Facebook too. So I'm a little disappointed it's not over there, but
we'll just repost. It's all
right.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. Anyway. Yep. So what's going on, Steven?
Nothing.
Not a thing.
Nothing. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing everybody. No, so yeah, I'm excited about today. So we have a special guest with us today. Mike, I want you to say who it is and what's happening today.
Okay, well, he isn't here yet. We are waiting for him to show up, to be totally honest with everybody. I just got a message from his personal assistant, and she said that he had to finish up a previous engagement that he had going today. I guess there was a conflict in scheduling with us, but that's okay. That's okay. Anyway,
no worries.
So we are going to have Eric July. He is the CEO, creator, founder of Rippaverse comic books. And last summer they released ISOM 1, which is their first big character for the Rippaverse. And apparently he made over $3 million during that campaign, I believe. If I got the stats right. And then he just wrapped up campaign number 2, where he sold ISOM number 2, which has 4 different covers. And I ordered cover D, which I'm excited to get. Anyway, and I think that one made over 2 million. So
according to the campaign, like if you go to the website, rippaverse.com, RIPPAVERSE.com, you can go to the campaign, see the campaign link, and it says just over 2 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good for a independent comic creator who is new to the industry. Just completely building this whole universe, from ground up. And I think it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to learning about the new characters and everything.
I'm just curious about how he got there.
Yeah.
He's got all kinds of, there's just so many interesting details. I think what we're going to find out.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to give away a lot. I've watched a few of his streams over the last several days.
Are you talking about just story wise?
Well, story wise and too many character details, because they're in the process of launching.
Oh yeah, I just mean from the aspect of how Rippaverse came to be.
Oh yeah.
He's got an interesting code of ethics that he has. I'm interested in hearing more about and how he got there. It's just fascinating.
Sure. Yep.
And the artwork that he's got that I've seen, it looks great. You've got ISOM 1, right?
Yes, I do. I have it right here. There. This is I think this was the cover D for the campaign number 1. Because cover D is the only thing you can get now. Everything else is sold out as far as the first campaign goes. So, and he's like he says in his code of ethics, or like he goes along with his code of ethics. Once if he says it's a limited run, it's a limited run. There will not be anything published, of that run again. So he's sticking true to that stuff. So.
Interesting. I love it. So just honesty in marketing.
Right. Yeah. So I take it the only reprints he will do will be of this cover, which would be cover D.
Okay.
I'm assuming that there will not be reprints of A, B, or C covers of ISOM 1.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if ISOM 2 is going to be the same way, where I hope D's a special one. But
they're all special.
Well, sure. Because D's the one I ordered, and I really, really like D. I think it's
the cover on D.
Yeah, here. I'll let me see if I can find it real quick.
Right on. So while he's bringing that up, everybody, so one of the things that's going to be really fascinating is what we're going to do here as we've introduced. Next, we're going to kind of hit like we normally do with our shows, do a little bit of geeky news, not a whole lot, and then some of our geekdar while we're waiting for Mr. July to join us. And then we'll get all the nit and gritty with that. So it'll be good. Ooh.
That's cover D. I really liked it because I felt it had kind of a Batman feel to it. So, I love Batman.
So those who are describe that cover for those who may be listening to the podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Watching
sure.
It.
So we see the character ISOM. It looks like he's on a rooftop, kind of holding on to, I guess, an antenna or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Holding on to something, kind of hanging off of it, sort of. Kind of in a Batman pose, but then in the background you see this blue sky with a skull and a full moon, and it just looks incredible. I thought it was the best looking cover personally, but
it looks great. Looks like it's probably a lightning rod.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe he's trying to get struck by lightning like the Flash. Who knows? All right. Well, while we are waiting on Mr. July.
Yeah.
It sounds funny to say Mr. July. Maybe we should hit up some geeky news. What do you think?
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. Let's do this.
All right. So, first up on the geeky news. I thought this was so ridiculous that we had to talk about it. So, apparently, Disney is going to release a WandaVision collectible steelbook. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, so a lot of these Blu-rays will, they'll get the regular Blu-ray release with the regular cover and such, and then they'll come out with a special edition in a steel box, which a lot of times are really cool looking, really nice package.
Yeah, just a little case a steel case for the
steel case
discs.
However, they're going to release WandaVision without any physical discs in it. And I just don't get this. This makes no sense to me. So Marvel Studios has announced that one of its Disney Plus shows is finally getting a physical release, but there's a catch, momentarily baffling catch. Well, sorry. The streamer's first ever Marvel Cinematic Universe series, WandaVision, will debut on a limited edition steelbook on September 27th, so just around the corner. The set will feature postcards, character cards, a folder, exclusive release stickers, but no Blu-ray or DVD discs. It's not clear yet if even the digital download will be included in it. I don't get this. This makes no sense to me. I mean, every other steelbook has always had the Blu-rays, and previously before Blu-rays came out, it had DVDs. And over the last several years, it would also come with a code to get your digital copies also. So I just don't get it. If they're going to release this, at least give people the codes for the digital copies. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So
yeah, I agree.
I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was utterly ridiculous. I guess we'll find out in the next month.
That's hard for me to believe, and part of me wonders if Comic Book Movie is doing some kind of clickbait or something. Because you're right, that is unbelievable.
Could it be that, or could it be Marvel and Disney are just trying to stir the waters to generate publicity about this?
Yeah, I just looked it up on Amazon. I didn't see any release for it or anything like that. So that'd be 2 months out if that's the case. And I would assume that normally Amazon's pretty good about, hey, here's what's coming out to be released, but I didn't see anything. So
personally, I want to see releases of like Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I liked WandaVision. I thought WandaVision was a great series, but I'm not going to go out and buy it. I just won't. But
yeah, it was okay.
I am curious.
Everybody remember how many times I Steven skip stuff?
Oh yeah. You Steven skipping everything. So anyway, so yeah, I'll be watching and I will definitely report whether this has discs or not, because I think that's crazy. Hopefully this is wrong. All right, next on our agenda. So at Comic-Con was last week. Oh, by the way, our upcoming guest was on at Comic-Con last week also.
Yeah, we got to ask him about that. How'd that go?
So it is the 30th anniversary of both the death of Superman and the rise of the Supermen. So DC Comics is going to be celebrating the return of Superman, and they are going to reintroduce the 4 Supermen: the Cyborg Superman, the Eradicator, Steel, and Superboy. Now, Steel and Superboy do have current books in the current continuity, but however, I believe Cyborg Superman and Eradicator do not. So they're basically going to reintroduce the 4 of them over the next year, sometime this year, second half of the year, I should say. So I'm excited about that. I loved the Supermen. I thought they were pretty cool characters. Big fan of the Cyborg Superman just because he looks so cool and so menacing.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Eradicator was very 90s looking, but he was still interesting. And Superboy was a breath of fresh air at the time. He was something different. And Steel was
awesome. He was a great character.
He was a regular guy who was encouraged by Superman. So yeah, I like that. So
I think I actually still have those issues.
Do you?
Of the reign of the Supermen.
Yes.
It's raining Superman. I'm just kidding.
Okay, then.
Right on.
All right. Move on to Geekdar?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Control with the radar, sir.
What's wrong with it?
I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps.
The what? The what? And the what?
You know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
That's not all he's lost.
All righty then.
All right, indeed. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I think.
Who talks first?
You talk first. Let me talk first. All right. Well, a couple of things I have on my thing is I got to show them off my new thing. I'm gonna have to unplug it though to bring it over here so you can see it. So
everybody yell Alexa.
Yeah, please don't. All right. So hey everybody, here is Dante. Here, I'll write it to my face so you can see it. I was just kidding. So Amazon Prime Days was awesome. I got the Echo Dot for half o price. And then what was really cool about it is, I always hear mics go off in the middle of the show because he'll say Alexa or something. And I thought, well, why not me too? But then I had a friend at work who was like, oh, did you see they have a Darth Vader head that holds your Alexa? And then when you plug it in, it lights up the eyes, the reflection off the light at the bottom of the Echo Dot will do that. So the eyes light up and stuff like that. I only wish he talked like Darth Vader.
Yeah, that would be amazing if he actually, and if you could change your Alexa call to Darth Vader.
Right. Darth
Vader.
Yeah. Hey, Vader. Yeah, I looked already. I did try to see if there was something. There was.
I don't understand why they can't program it to where you could use any word instead of.
I've heard people talk about AI today being able to do all kinds of stuff. And so I'm like, the technology technically is there. So anyway, all right, enough of that. So I was kind of excited about that. It's like, Mike, I've joined the ranks of having an Alexa nearby that will interrupt the show. So
well, we changed its wake word a while back, but every now and then that word pops into the show and that's when it comes alive. So you can say Alexa in this room all you want. It's not going to come on. But
right.
If you say Echo.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what works.
I gotcha. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Well, hey.
There she goes. She's
such as a partner snoring.
That's funny. Case in point, everybody. Welcome to the show.
And I tried to say it so quietly too, and it
makes you wonder how sensitive those microphones are.
I think they're only sensitive when they want to be. I think those darn things have a mind of their own, because there's times when I'm practically yelling at it, Alexa, and it's not responding to me. And then I'll just say something, and all of a sudden it starts talking. It's like, who pulled your chain? What the heck is wrong with you?
Right?
So, yeah, those things are crazy.
Yep.
AI is taking over the world.
Yep. Well, my
Skynet's coming.
It's coming. We've already got the AI. It's going to get into the Amazon network and into even all the Alexa dots and shows and all those kinds of things.
I'll bet you if you look into Amazon, you'll find out that they have somewhere in their naming somewhere Skynet. I'll bet you.
maybe.
Come with me if you want to live. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So then the next thing on my list is The Witcher. Season 3, parts 1 and 2 are out. So I've already watched part 1, and then part 2 just came out Thursday. And it's only 3 more episodes, so it's about a 9 episode kind of series. And to be open, the first episode of part 2, fantastic. It was great. The other 2 episodes, trying to watch during my lunch breaks and that kind of a thing, or really listened, I did the Steven skip. I was like, come on.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness. It was very frustrating. And I love me some Henry Cavill, and I love what he's done with The Witcher. But I was just like, yeah, move along. The second episode of part 2 was like, the whole episode is this? I mean, it was just like, move along. I mean, stop dragging this out. There's no need to. It just wasn't engaging, and it was really frustrating. It was like we're still in the middle, halfway through a second act kind of a thing of a movie. So, Steven skipping. So, but I'm telling you, if they had just done that 5th episode and made it the last episode, it would have ended with a bang. It would have been good, but I don't know what they were doing, but that's okay. Maybe that's why Henry Cavill is leaving the show.
That was weird. You just all of a sudden sounded like you were underwater for a second.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Did you go under the sea?
Under the sea. No, I did not just go under the sea and stuff like that. So it's all good. All right. Well, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome. And then, so with that, that's kind of the end of mine. I'll let you go ahead and do your Geekdar. It looks like our wonderful guest is joining in our guest room. So
nice. Okay. Well, I'll skip my Geekdar, and we will go ahead and bring in Mr. Eric July.
There's the man himself.
All right.
What's up?
Man, the legend.
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
We are great. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you. I know I'm a little late, but I appreciate you having me.
It's all good.
We're excited about having you here. We're pumped. We're like, he'll be a little bit late. No big deal. This is going to be great.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much again for having me.
Oh,
you're so welcome. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. In all openness, we are blessed to have you. So thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Yeah, Mike was talking it all up. We were very excited because he was like, oh, guess who we got? We got the Rippaverse, kind of a thing. And I was like, yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
So everybody, this is Mr. Eric July is joining us from the Rippaverse, as we introduced at the beginning of the show. That would be coming a little bit later. And he is here now. We normally, everybody kind of meet with our guests before the show. We haven't had that. So we're going to have a little bit of fun here, just kind of talking and saying, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we would like to do, kind of stuff here live on the show. But we're pretty open and excited to have you with us. Thank you.
So just to start, Eric, my name is Michael, and Steven is my co-host. Okay. The two of us started this podcast 2 years ago, Steven?
Yep, 2 years.
We started off as just an audio podcast, and then we made the move to YouTube this past year or so. I think it's been a year now. I don't remember.
It's not quite been a year, but yeah.
Everything kind of runs together after a while. But so we made the move over to YouTube. So we're both YouTube and an audio podcast at the same time. And we are primarily just anything geeky, comic books, movies, television, whatever falls into the geek category. And you fell onto my radar a year ago. So I have to tell this story. So a year ago, I saw you on the Daily Wire, actually.
Okay.
And I'm watching and I'm like, wow, this is a great story. This is amazing, man. And I thought, I got to reach out to this guy. So I reached out to you on Facebook, and then I never heard back. And I was like, okay, whatever. No big deal.
Busy guy. It's all good.
I was like, he's busy. He probably doesn't even do his own Facebook. He's probably got somebody else to do it for him. No big deal. And then I completely forgot about you. And then a few weeks back, I'm catching up on some podcasts, and you were back on the Daily Wire again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I forgot all about this guy. I'm going to have to go check out his website. So I go and check out Rippaverse.com, and I'm like, oh, dude, I gotta order this comic book. And and I found the contact page, and I said, okay, my theory is if you don't ask, you don't know.
True.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to reach out. We'll see what happens. I didn't expect to hear anything back. It was like 20 minutes later, your personal assistant, Carol. Carol emails me right back. I mean, 20 minutes later, and she's like, okay, Eric is busy through July 24th. Anytime after that is good. And I'm like, whoa, did I just get him? So,
I love
that's my story. That's how I got you.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, look, it's sometimes I would love to do like a lot of these, more of these. Actually, it's just with I'm this company. I'm still catching up with its demand, right? So,
I can't imagine.
A lot of the stuff that should be probably other people doing it, I'm doing it as well. So, which is good. I love that I'm in the warehouse, and the warehouse employees get to see me, and they're packing orders right alongside them. But until we get caught up, it's like that's been a lot of what it is that I do. We'll get to a point to where I do more of these because, let's be honest, doing stuff like this is my time is better suited doing stuff like that, keeping my ear to the streets and talking with people like yourselves about what it is that we have going here as well, because, this is the audience. These are the people that, word of mouth is a very organic movement that we have here, and word of mouth is a big part of it. So it doesn't matter big or small, being able to do these is very, very, very important and vital to what it is that we're trying to do. So yeah, you caught us at a great time because, my team is one of those where they're starting to demand of me, like, hey, get him from the warehouse. And they're like pulling me from the computer. Like he needs to be doing things like this. So, it's good it's fun as well for me to be doing things like this. So again, I'm excited.
Well, we're honored to have you.
I was shocked when Carl, I told her, I said, well, how about we do July 29th? I think today's 29th. And she's like, okay, I got it on his calendar, 9 p.m. July 29th. And at first I was like, yes, I got him. And then I was like, oh crap. I didn't tell her AM, not PM.
Yeah, it's all good. Like I said, I had a little thing to do, and I told her, I was like, hey, get in contact, make sure they know I'm going to be there. I just might be a little late.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's what it's about.
Thank you. How much time do you have? I want to be respectful of your time.
Well, I got another hour, so we're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got plenty of time then.
All right. Well,
awesome.
One of the things we talked about at the top of the show is we want to kind of go through like, what is Rippaverse? How did you get there? Kind of the story of the Kickstarter, and then really kind of talk about with either ISOM that you've got, and then you just finished the second campaign like just this week, and then you've got new artists that are coming on board, and which is just exciting. And really, we were also looking at your code of ethics and what all you're doing is just so fascinating, and it's just an incredible story. So when someone comes and says, what is the Rippaverse? How do you explain that?
Well, I generally, where do we start? But no, on a serious note, my pitch generally is centered around the fact that, as our tagline is essentially we're a comic book company for comic book readers, and what I mean by that is that I know with how the industry and the direction that it grew, especially with media that is outside of the comic books, really they have started to become more just strictly IP farms, and the focus and the attention to care and with the actual medium and the publication has kind of been pushed to the wayside. So what we wanted to do with the Rippaverse is have a company where that's the priority. It's not to say that, for example, we already produced an animation, right? It's not to say that we won't do other things, but it starts here with the books, and that's going to be our driving force. So, that's why we have, like you mentioned, our code of ethics. That's something that the audience gets to hold us to, and they can see what is this company about? Like, what are they prioritizing? The continuity aspect of it all, and respecting our customers and all that is that's the core of what it is this company is. So it doesn't matter when you get in, whether you get in like right here at the ground level when we're really launching, or you get in with later. So 5-10 years down the line, it's still something that you can get in on, get caught up on, and those ethics will still be there. As far as everything else, like the actual the idea for it, long-time comic book guy. That was a big thing about, like, for example, my growth on YouTube was commentary. A lot of it was, let's say in the last half decade was commentary on comic book stuff, comic book media as well. And I figured during this period of time, as I was buying all these books every week, I'm like, well, they don't seem to be making these with myself in mind. So I instead of griping all the time, why don't I try to be a part of the solution? And I really do
love it.
That God awesome. Be on this earth to create. I think that's where I'm at my best. A commentary is good. That's cool, but I need to be creating, and I think God tells me that by the success it is that I've seen when I'm doing that, right? So when I mute my music stuff, that's up until now, obviously that's the most successful kind of venture it is that I had, and being, part of 2 actual Billboard charting bands. And then we move into this, and this is more successful than literally anything else it is that I've ever done. And that's because, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I wanted to be a part of the solution. And I loved what the transparency that, you mentioned, like Kickstarters, and that kind of changed the game as far as the industry. But for me, I was like, I don't really need the money because I got the money. So for me, how do I take the transparency element that Kickstarters, Indiegogos, and that campaign format introduced, and have like this kind of hybrid where, we treat it like a pre-order, which is why we could launch a campaign last month and start fulfilling the campaign to Monday. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's because everything's already ready and completed and finished, but people can see and to be constantly updated, right? They can see the numbers, how many it sells, what. They can also see, get that feedback as far as our general updates and all of that. So I thought it was a great time. I took a big risk, spent almost like $300,000 on my own money that I had saved up. And I said, we're going to give this a shot. And, ISOM won $3.7 million later. I got legitimized. And if anybody thought it was lucky, here we are with another multi-million-dollar campaign, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
It's like I'm still like in shock, but I don't have a whole lot of time to celebrate because I'm like, the demand's there. I got to get back to work.
Well, shoot, you've got Yara coming.
Yep.
Am I saying it right? Yara.
Yep. You got
Yara.
Mm-hmm.
You got Yara coming up. That's the next campaign.
That's actually after the Alpha Core book, which is going to have Chuck Dixon and obviously Joe Bennett, which is going to be massive with those two.
It's huge.
On. And then we got Saska Sisters on the Yara book.
Yeah.
They're doing more work for us. Actually, they just completed Yara 2. They both of them put me to shame. And Chuck Dixon, because Chuck Dixon also has an unannounced book that we haven't that he's completed, and I'm like, damn, like I gotta catch up. I'm trying to finish ISOM 3, and I'm like, they're already fitted. Like, give me some more work. It's like, God, dog it. So but it's fun because those are obviously the utmost professionals. Chuck Dixon being one of the more prolific writers of our generation, and I've learned so much from that man. And to have them here as we flesh out this universe, I think between us 3, you're really going to see this universe ultimately fleshed out, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very, very exciting. So, I'm in a great spot, and I'm aware of that. That this is something that I have to take advantage of, which is why I don't rest. It's like, we got to strike while the iron is hot, and we want to keep creating. So I'm just very thankful for all of the customers, fans out there, because they're the reason why we do this.
We've got a question from John Young, who asks, which hobby was creativity easy, making music or making comics?
That is a great question.
Man, okay. So both of them have an interesting thing with it. I mean, I guess you can make this about anything, any type of music genre, but specifically in the ones that I do, like in being a metalcore and or hardcore artist. So we, it's a band. So it's five of us collaborating on a project. I'll write it out, obviously the lyrics and everything, and our guitarists will do, make sure, get the riffs and all that. And it's a collaborative effort. So both of them have that big similarity there, that it's not just one person's input. So like with obviously comics, so for taking ISOM, I wrote it. Obviously, Cliff Richards penciled and inked it, and then we had Gabe El Taib color it. So it's the same thing in terms of a team. I would say, oh man, it's hard to. I think the music came, writing. Both of them have writing, but if I had to say which one came easier, I guess for me, it would say music, because it just came a little more natural to me. Both of them come kind of natural as far as writing. It's not like I was taught how to do it. It was more things that I just picked up. So it was some gifts from God there for sure. But I think the music thing, which is why maybe we were able to hybrid all these different like genres, like with my band Backwards, where we'll have, obviously it's a metalcore bass, but we'll mix some R&B elements, we'll mix some hip hop elements into it from time to time, and it meshes very, very well. But I think that's because of my upbringing and listening to everything, having an ear for everything. So it's like easier to do, but making comics takes more time. And I would say in our case, for sure, the comics, because of the logistical aspect of it, with us handling, for example, our own distribution. So it's a puzzle that's involved there. That's the easier part, is, hey, writing the script. That's the easier part. And even making the comic part, that's the easier part. Then you got to get it to the customers. That's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? So right. I would say for sure the comics, because of that reason.
Very cool. Wow. Let me ask you this, with the success of Kickstarter, your first Kickstarter, I mean, how much was it total?
3.7 million.
3.7 million.
Wow, man, that's nuts.
Dang. For somebody that just came out of the blue, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Appreciate that, man.
What was it like watching the numbers keep growing and growing and growing for that first campaign?
So that was interesting because, I figured we would be a little successful, right? I mean, I had an audience, right, already, because of everything that is that I did. So it wasn't like I was just starting from straight scratch. However, I accounted for about 12,000, which is a lot. Like, obviously for a book, that's a lot. So I figured we'd be successful. But I thought about this 45 different ways, and none of them came up with a $3.7 million campaign. None of them. So I was not anticipating that. And once we hit it was the 30-hour mark was when we hit $1 million. So it was a day, essentially. It was what we got. We hit the first $1 million, and it was like this is real. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I can't even take a breather. I can't celebrate. I mean, I could, and I think that would be the mistake that a lot of people would do. They'd just do a victory lap. But my mind as a businessman, I'm thinking, okay,
you got to move on to the next thing.
I have to. I'm thinking forward. Everything that I do, I'm thinking forward. So, all right, well, now I got to account for my books. I have to get everything that I was gonna. I had to deal with our print company that we were going to get that first front load there, and that should have got us through the campaign, and the rest would have came in the subsequent months. Well, that was, I had to call our printers like, I need all of those. I need them now. So they got them printed, finish the print, went ahead and sent those over. And of course we got those out in that upcoming about month and a half. I think it's about how long it took us to get everything out. And yeah, it was surreal to see just it keep going up. And like I said, I never really anticipated that, but I had to get back to work. all my part-time guys became full-time guys that were part of, I had to bring more people in.
I bet they were celebrating.
Yeah, they were. No, because this is a dream for some of them. It's like, not only do they get to work in comics, it's like our employees are as invested in this as I am, which is great. I mean, that's why the machine runs in the way that it does so effectively, because they don't treat it like, I got a bunch of rock stars here. They don't treat this stuff like it's just another gig. They treat it like it's their baby too, which is why they're active on social media and they brag about being part of the Rippaverse, because this is a job that they're proud of. And I say this as a businessman, you pick up on that like almost immediately, and that is someone that is going to put in their best work. Like if they are comfortable, they have some sort of investment in it, in the company, and you take care of them because of it. I pay these guys very well. There was Caffeinated Wolf, that's my social media and creative manager there. Right there. And like, these guys want to be here. Like it's Saturday. He ain't supposed to be working. Yeah, here he is. Here he is. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, you guys are actually invested in this company. And I did a panel when I was at San Diego Comic-Con this past week. We did a panel, and that was the thing that I talked about with both in relation to the independent marketing, especially with those independent filmmakers. It's like, you have to have people that can not only cover your deficiencies, but are also good at what it is that they do. And that's how you do your best work. It's a collaborative effort. I wear a lot of hats, but I can't wear every single hat. And people that are good at what it is that they do, you mentioned like Carol. Carol is the one that keeps me in line. Like I wouldn't be able to do stuff like this had it not been for her, because she's the one, hey, okay, I need you to do this. You know what I mean? And you have something going on at this time, and she makes sure that I'm there. Like, you need those types of people there that are part of your company. So as we were sitting there watching those numbers go up, going back to the original point, it was like, I was thinking like, okay, we need to get more people and we need to get the best. And those folks that are here, I mean, look, they're the best in the business, and I love them to death for what it is they do for this company.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems like you surrounded yourself with a lot of people who know the industry, know what they're doing, with lots of talent. And I think that was a wise move. You didn't just surround yourself with just friends who want to get involved, but you actually picked people within the industry who actually know the business and know what they're doing. And that's smart move.
Let me post what Caffeinated Wolf came back with. He said, "What's a weekend?"
Yeah, we got money to make, bro.
He's not lying. After that, he's going to the warehouse, so he's not lying.
That's hilarious.
Love Andrew to death, man. He's like I say, he's such a remarkable person, and again, it makes my job a lot easier having people like that that are part of this company, man. So to those out there that aspire to. It doesn't matter what it is that you're creating, especially if you're doing it like the independent route where you're like basically in control of everything. You got to have people like the Andrews of the world to be a part of your business.
Sure. So you just came back from Comic-Con, and I'm assuming that's your first big event at Comic-Con. At least
that was my first. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was my first Comic-Con.
So how was your first experience with Comic-Con? Being there to represent Rippaverse.
It was incredible. Nothing short of that. And, obviously with us being kind of the new kid on the block, but also kind of, it's like you're the new kid, but people also understand that like you get that bit of animosity because you got people that are like, well, they've been doing it for so long and they haven't done anything like this. So, you would think if my Twitter had anything to say about it, it was like going to an event like that was going to be very, there's going to be some turmoil there. Let's say that. It was the complete opposite experience.
Good.
It was nothing but love all day long. All the veterans that I linked up with, I mean, they would go out of their way to pull me aside to say that they're in our corner, to encourage me to continue to go and keep going, and saying that they're proud. Building like I met Billy Tucci. I met Dan Fraga. I met a lot of guys that have been doing this for a very, very long time, and they had nothing but love to show, and telling us that they're constantly proud of it. And obviously, meeting even with like the vendors, like the CGCs of the world, top grader, obviously in our industry, and they have nothing but love. We've done a lot of business with them in this past year, and they got nothing but love for us. So everything was all love. It was my first Comic-Con. There was no issues, no problems. The panel that we did with Chris Gore and his film threat crew, as well as Gary from Neurotic, who jumped on that panel last minute. It was a fun experience all around, and I'm glad that we were able to have a presence there. And it was an interesting year, obviously, because Hollywood didn't have as much of a presence as they generally have had in recently. Right. It seemed to make for a better con. Yeah, the Hall H stuff maybe wasn't going as crazy as people would have liked, but I mean, I'll pick up this feedback. Obviously, this is my first one, but seeing Billy and talking to him and seeing what these guys, and as well as Gabe El Taib, our colorist, who was there, who we obviously had 2 signings with. You know, they're like, look, they haven't made this much money, they haven't had this much like traffic and a Comic-Con in a very long time. So it's great to see that those guys getting rewarded and they getting back to the essence, because Hollywood has their own issues going on right now, and but it's still about comics.
Can you explain this hashtag? I think I know what it means, but
Jesus. All right. So,
you talked about this on the live stream with the sisters.
Yeah. So this is so the first thing that was really conceptualized that out of the Rippaverse was me drawing ISOM suit, right? And obviously I am not I'm an artist, but not that kind. So I drew the sketch from our concept artist Marcos to launch it, to like make it presentable, right, to our artists like Cliff Richards. And that was really the first thing that was conceptualized. And there's an actual sketch that's out there of me literally drawing out the sketch of ISOM suit, and it's terrible. But that's the Eric sketch that everybody's referencing there.
Yeah, well, they're all hashtagging it, so
everybody's hashtagging.
I think you got to release it, man.
So
I want to see it.
It is so bad. It is so bad. I think at some point it's going to have to get released because everybody's demanding of it, and I'll try to think of some creative way.
Do a limited edition poster or collecting card. Yeah, there you go. Collecting card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sticker. Yeah.
When I say it's bad, y'all, it is bad. I colored it in and everything. Oh, it's so bad.
I so want to see it, man.
It's so bad. But it is, so you can see that, it says ISOM suit, but it just looks so terrible because, like I said, I'm not that kind of artist. So I think at some point it's going to have to get released. It won't be, I don't know when. But I'll try to think of some creative way to embarrass myself. But what people
dude, every time I look, I'm seeing another hashtag. Eric sketch. So you got to do it, man. You got to do it. I say, even if it's a limited, maybe that's what you do in the next campaign. You put it in the next campaign as a sticker or a card or something like that, and you can have that idea for free.
All right, gotcha. Roger that.
What was one of your favorite gleanings from being at Comic-Con? Just with your presence, it sounds incredible with just all the people we were meeting, all the love and support you were getting. Mm-hmm. Was there any big gleaning, and maybe a couple of things that you got just from that experience itself?
I would say 2. One was meeting obviously Billy Tucci. That was huge. And like I said, so just the kind words that he had and telling me he was proud. And like I said, this is a guy that's been on the scene for forever.
Oh goodness!
So that was huge. Also, I would say another highlight was having some time to chat with the great Dean Cain, who was obviously my Superman.
Oh wow!
And nice. Him and Gabe are doing a lot of work. And him and I talked before, but we this is our first like face-to-face meet, right?
Nice.
So getting to chat with him, and it's the same thing. It's like, hey man, keep this up. It's been something awesome to see and to get to chat with these guys. And it seems to be like on everybody's damn radar, this whole thing. And it's just everybody gets something from it, and it's been so encouraging. So if there was any other takeaway, and obviously it's not my first con, it's not my first big con. We've done Fan Expo, Anime Matsuri, we've done other ones. But one thing that I would say take away from not only Comic-Con but those others as well is that, look, guys, like this internet, like Twitter stuff, that's not real life. Like my experience, get some knuckleheads, saying whatever crazy things online versus us and how our experience of being in public and interacting with our fans. It's just a night and day experience. Like, it's like, that's real life. Most people are encouraging. It's a constant reminder that that's what this is about. So that's why it's so fun.
I think I was struck by what you said just a moment ago by just, yes, Hall H was not as big of a presence this year, but yet there seemed to be a different atmosphere because it was more about the comics and the creators and the writers and all. In your opinion, do you see this as being just kind of the future of where Comic-Con may be going based upon your experience?
Well, let's say this: they're not going to have a choice at some point at the trajectory of what looking like Hollywood, because this is this strike thing is different. Yes, they've had strikes in the past, but the culture has changed a lot since then. And to be honest, and to be frank, they don't really have writers or actors don't really have a bargaining chip right now. So things are starting to change. And even have the public's perception of these movies that are based on this material has started to kind of change. And, I would say it's their own doing, right? And sure. It's garbage in, garbage out kind of situation. But I will say that if it doesn't go that way, it continue to go this way, I'll be very surprised, but because I think that they're not going to have any choice. But it's also good for the industry. It doesn't mean that it can't be huge. It doesn't mean there won't be a lot of people there. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that it'll be more centric around why this whole thing started in the first place. And it wasn't because of the movies and all. It wasn't because of that. Like, that's not to say that they shouldn't have a presence or nerd culture. I'm not making that claim. I'm more so saying that it started here, and that's back to the essence. And it will look like the thing about artists and seeing whether it be on the main floor or the actual artist alley, either one, is to see kind of the decentralization of it all, which is fun because everybody has, like, now you got, like, again, Billy Tucci and all these other, Aaron Lopresti with Wraith of God and all the things they do, Gabe El Taib with his stuff and Big Man Comics. Like, these are stuff that are their own projects, right? And there's a demand. There's people wanting to take pictures and have them sign stuff and draw stuff. It's really cool. But that's how I think this market, the direction that not just comics, I think the direction of entertainment in general, because Hollywood's in for a wake up call as well. Like, I think it's going to start to trend more towards independence as well. So I think these guys don't have a choice. But more importantly, I think that's a good thing. It's a great thing. I get it. The mega corporate,
like the statement that I just put up. We're going through a cultural renaissance. Yep. They will adapt or die.
That's how it is. That's a perfectly put, Chuck. That's perfectly put, because that's what it is. It's like there's not going to be a spot. Like, I get it. The mega corporate kind of standard is very attractive to people because they have seemingly an endless amount of money, which they don't. People are finding that out now. There is an end to it, but it's attractive because be it between the middleman and the guarantee of the money, there's less risk associated with it from the creatives. So them getting laced up or paid is, and that structure being there is very attractive. But going into this new direction of decentralization, for guys like myself, this is awesome. But for other people, they're going to be very protective of that status quo, which is why, despite having these millions of dollars, these actors, instead of building their own studios, which seems to be the obvious thing to do, they're begging for these mega corporations to pay them more, right? Through the unions.
So, like, the music industry has been changing for several years now. And you're seeing so many artists now who, they've got their home studios. So they can do everything at home. They don't have to go out and rent a studio, to record their albums. They can distribute it on their own. The only thing they really need is somebody, to do a tour for them and set up a tour. But other than that, they don't really need much outside of it. And I think you're right. I think actors need to be looking at the same type of thing.
Absolutely.
There are some actors, now granted, they're smaller actors. If you look at, like, John Schneider, he used to be the Dukes of Hazzard. He was Bo Duke of Dukes of Hazzard. John's got his own home studio, and he's producing, granted, they're smaller movies. They're not, they're not getting
wrong with that.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the most profitable ones.
Yeah, right. And he's doing it now. So
Yeah,
I think could you imagine if Tom Cruise did something like that?
Yeah, like he had. Yeah, like it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like they, and even the ones that do call themselves having their own like studios, it's still like connected to a major corporate entity. So it's like a mega corporate entity is paying them to either do it or do the film or pay for the film, and they're just the ones. The studio just acts as the producer, but they don't actually act as the distributor. They don't act as the guys that are actually funding the projects, which is why I'm like, that to me is more attractive, because number one, you have full creative control over everything it is that you do, and all these supposed issues that you guys have, you can correct them. When I see hashtag comics broke me, and I see all these creatives whining about not getting paid by these other studios, I'm like, well, there's an alternative. Do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like that's not, if you are such geniuses, and that's often how these guys see themselves, as the upper echelon of society. So if you guys are such geniuses, you should be able to pull your resources together or put your heads together and create something that is going to be everlasting. And that's what I did. That's what these other guys could do. And to like Chuck's point, to these other guys' point, I think they're going to be forced into doing it, because at the trajectory that this stuff, that like even Hollywood right now, it's just not a sustainable thing. Even with these movies that you look like that see a decent return, they're spending too much money. So that's not like they're that profitable. What's profitable are the Sound of Freedoms of the world, where they spend a fraction of what these other big studios are spending, and they flip that into hundreds of I don't know where it's at now. I think last time I checked, it was like 130 million. I think it's doing more than that. That's how you actually make the profit. So even from the things that they gripe about, which right now they claim for it to be paid, like this is stuff you can correct yourself. You don't like the fact that people pay them, why don't you just pay them? Why don't you just do it yourself? It's been my answer to this whole thing. So they're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to adjust. And if they don't, to their credit, to what Chuck said, and to what some of these other guys in the chat are saying, they're going to have to. And if they don't, well, they're going to be left. They're going to be left behind. And it is what it is. The weak will be separated from the strong, and I think a lot of people are going to find out that some of these guys are paper tigers, and they're not really as good at what it is that they need that mega corporate entity, because really that's the only people that would subsidize their projects and get it off the ground.
Well, Eric, I got to say this. I got to say thank you for being a part of the disrupting of the old and bringing in the new. You are proving it's going to be done. I love it. I want to say hashtag Eric says, do it yourself. Do your own thing. I'm sorry. Do your own thing. Excuse me. Hashtag do your own thing.
That's what they should be doing. All these guys because I think of it like, I think that's what turned a lot of people off to Hollywood, is that these guys really do think they are better than absolutely everybody. I think definitely at the turn of 2015, I don't know, something might have happened during 2015, 2016 that just made these people crazy. And they started taking it to social media, despite their customers or the people that were buyers of it. So they started telling on themselves, and obviously that turned a lot of people off. Anyway, but I think people are finding, again, it's the paper tiger situation. If these guys aren't as creative as they, I mean, I think we saw that with the whole COVID situation, and you saw these folks start to have to do their own thing, right? And like they didn't have. You saw like these guys try to take it to YouTube, like all these creatives out of nowhere that were part of Hollywood started to try to make it to YouTube. So basically trying to become more personable. And you find out like these guys aren't really like, if someone's not writing their material,
I know exactly what you're saying.
They're not, like these guys kind of suck. So I think,
well, Warner Brothers spends how much on the Batgirl, and then they throw the entire thing.
They said we can't put it out. That's how bad it was.
That's crazy, man. I don't think I've ever heard of them, a movie studio completing the film
after it was almost like 90% finished. I haven't heard of that. I mean, you think about the amount of bad movies that get put out, like regardless. I've never heard of that. I've heard of obviously things getting shelved, but they were always like they may have been developmental stage, right? But to see something that was basically done. Like, and them saying, we're just not putting it out. We're just going to.
And you had Michael Keaton in it too.
Yeah.
It's not like you had small names in it. You know,
that's how bad it had to be. There was nothing to salvage it. There was like, they were just like, this, just take the right off. Take the right off is what it is.
Yeah.
So these guys aren't as creative as, and I think people, well, what's happening is the alternatives, people are able to see them a lot more because the means have been more decentralized. You got the YouTubes of the world and even other video platforms that are continuing to grow that are all. I need to tag that. That's what happened. These media, like
that was funny.
It's there as people saw that there are competitors. That's what the Rippaverse was, right? It was like, yeah, we can do something that's comparable to them, and we can get it out there. Actually, now we can get viewers, we can get eyes on it, we can get an audience. So people feel like, well, yeah, I could just select this guy's stuff. I don't have to keep buying these other guys' material. So the fact that people are able to do that in these other industries and it's become more affordable to produce them has completely changed the game. So even compared to the guys that are spending, $1 million times more than what I'm spending on these projects, and we're getting the return it is that we're getting, like I think there's just going to be more of it, and there's going to be inevitably someone that will come along and probably do it better than I do. And it's an exciting time. I love the decentralization. I love the uncertainty of it all. The market needs a big shakeup.
It does.
Yeah, I like this statement. I like how Eric is able to make adjustments to the products to make it better for the customer because he is the owner and listens to customers' feedback and he makes smart financial decisions. Yep, I totally agree completely.
Yep, that's what you're able to do. That's the benefit of being the independent. Like, I talk about this with me and Gary all the time from Neurotic. We talk about this. Like, the advantage that we have is that unlike Hollywood, they really can't pivot. Like, outside of the Batgirl situation, like there's no pivoting, like there's no, it's like even if they'll try to reshoot, they'll try to do all this, but there's only so much they can really do. With me, it's like, well, I could put out an idea, and if the market responds, I can do more of it. Like, we could take this campaign for example, right? We're in the middle of a campaign. And I remember for example, the CGC copies of this cover. We had no plans on doing that. We had no.
That's
my favorite color.
Yeah.
He ordered that.
My favorite one.
Awesome. So of this cover, we had zero plans of doing a CGC signature series version of it. So we get them, and I'm like, okay, let's see the demand, and because everybody's demanding that we did it, our customers, we said, okay, we'll just add it to the campaign. And so we did. We added it to the campaign. Those are all sold out now. And that's the type of cool stuff that you're able to do as an independent, as on a dime. You can just say, yeah, let's just do this. So you can give people more. And it benefits the customers, man, so much. And that's what the mega corporation can't do. They have to plan this stuff because of all the middlemen that they have to plan this stuff, years ahead. And they have to commit to it. And we can just say, well, we can do less of what people didn't really respond to. We can do more of what people demand of us. And that's what it's about.
I got to say, just as you told the story about being at Comic-Con and all these guys investing in you or encouraging you to say, great job. You are on the forefront of being that guy for other people here in the future. I just see it. I think you're just ahead of your time because you said several leadership things that I've heard that I almost challenge you to you either do a blog post or something for a lot of these guys who are just inspired by what you're doing. I'm inspired by your attitude. I'm inspired by your look, God created me to create, I'm being faithful to that. And for all of us to be creative, I think the thing about taking care of your people is what I hear, and having that team,
I agree.
Is just encouraging as well. Gosh, I just can't wait to see all of what you're doing, and even how just down the road you are the inspiration and going to be the leader for all this decentralized writers and creatives and people who are like, how do I break in? Realizing that you are blazing the trail to saying you can do it on your own.
Yeah,
and all. So thank you so much just for being that guy.
Appreciate that, man. Man. Seriously, no, I thank you, and I think the one thing that you talk about with taking care of the team is so very important, and that's something that I talk about the creative stuff a lot, and I try to mention more so that there were economic things that I think plagued this industry, and coming at it from two different perspectives, the creative perspective, but also being a businessman as well. I look at it like, well, those are problems that plague the industry that I can correct. So the fact that we have people working in comics, that be it on the back office stuff, all that, like all my executives, everything that are working, they're getting paid well to do that. And they're getting paid comparable if they were working with any other company that had more resources than we had. And the same can be said, especially for the creatives, as far as like our contracts with the book. I mean, Gabe El-Taib is a longtime industry veteran, but done DC work, Marvel work, Star Wars, did all that stuff. And he often says on Twitter all the time, he's like, Eric pays me better than what I was getting over there. Wow. with those guys, and he pays on time. Chuck Dixon brings it up all the time as well. Yeah,
that's very important.
Yeah, Chuck brings it up all the time. He's like Eric will pay me the day I submit the script. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's important to me, because I don't like hearing these stories of, for one, some writers don't even get paid. I mean, you think really how it works? Definitely, if they don't, if you even if they say that, hey, we want to commission you to do something, and they don't put it out, they might often won't even pay you for it. Like for writers, more so, they won't pay you for that script that you wrote. And then for scripts that they have wrote, you hear all these stories from artists as well as writers where they're not getting paid. 30, 45 days have gone, and they've not gotten any sort of money. It's hard to run people down. These are stories, nightmarish stories, because these guys got bills to pay, and it's a nightmare stories that I don't like hearing. So I do everything it is in my power. It's why the book is priced the way that it is, because I want to make sure that people that are working with it within this company and for this company, one way, either as a contractor or as an employee, are paid. They're taken care of. They are they can do their best work without having to think about.
We're about the financial side.
Exactly. And that's how they do their best work, because number one, they know they're going to get paid well for it, and they have that peace of mind of being able to say, I just need to deliver. I just need to get it done. I need to deliver to what I was agreed to, what I've agreed to deliver, and the finances will always be taken care of. So this part of the economic stuff that I sought out to correct with the Rippaverse. It wasn't just a creative. Yeah, I have a lot of issues with the content of over the past years that have been put out through comics, but the big thing that I for sure wanted to correct was the financial economic aspect rather of this industry.
Well, that's like Alan Dean Foster. He wrote the Splinter of the Mind's Eye, Star Wars Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and he actually ghost wrote the novelization of the original Star Wars novel. And he says that he hasn't been paid by Disney, and that's
since the takeover, since Disney bought out Lucasfilm.
Yes, and he wrote the novelization of The Force Awakens. Yeah, and since the takeover, he hasn't been paid for that. And that's Disney of all companies, That's crazy. It's just nuts.
I'd like to go back here a little bit when you were talking about, the large companies and Hollywood can't sustain anymore. But something that you insinuate is the fact that we've got all these superhero movies, going back to the roots, that it was truly about the comics. It's about the stories. I mean, comics have been doing storytelling for how long? Decades,
right?
And all. Do you see that today's Hollywood, their storytelling, the only reason these movies have been as successful as they have been, some of them particularly, just has become basis because the storytelling of what comics created themselves?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's the aspect of it, and also why I believe that definitely with Hollywood adaptations of movies are starting to be on they're on the decline right now, or hit or miss. Let's just say that to be more
hit or miss. Sure.
Be more accurate. The reason why that's the case is because like the story aspect of it, be it from a source material standpoint or just from a general storytelling standpoint, has been put on the back burner for things that nobody cares about. right? The things that people, well, let me say, actual audience doesn't care. They're chasing an audience that doesn't exist. That's what Hollywood's doing. That's what really a lot of mainstream cat TV and comics are doing. That audience, it's like they're writing not for an audience. They're writing for the audience that they would like to have. And that's a mistake always from a business perspective, because a lot of times that audience, it's not a real thing. It's a figment of your imagination. It doesn't really exist. No demand for what it is.
Yeah. Everybody, Mark, another business leadership tactic right there. Know your audience. I love it.
You have to. And the stories are going to be placed above all. It's funny watching guys. Because when the first campaign dropped, it's funny. People like, oh, well, if you're just supporting it because it's the hot thing right now, he kind of it's everybody's a part of it, and now everybody's kind of having to shut up because we did it twice. And that in itself shows that the stories, the characters, things that is creating that resonated with people, right? That's something it is that they wanted, and that's kind of your approach. You have to emphasize that. I hate that. For some people, and again, I think it's more of the mega corporate mind state. For some people, they separate the two. They separate the business from the creative stuff. And I think that more so happens because, to be fair, and I've dealt with this in music, most creative people don't really have that business bone in their body. That's why they should link. I mean, that Disney is a primary example of it. Walt, that is. He wasn't the businessman. His brother. Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
What I mean? Right. It was Roy. So that's my camera always does this focus. Weird
it's all
stuff.
Good.
There we go. But that's the thing that is the issue. And for me, they're not separated concepts, especially now in a more independent market. They're one and the same. In order to be a financial business success, you need to also be a creative success. So with the creative stuff, you have to focus on those elements of storytelling and all that. And that's how you get the support. It is, at least to sustain it and continue it on. So it's not just a flash in the pan. So you can't separate those. So if you're not a creative person, you need to get with someone that understands the business element as well, because they are intertwined. They're not separated concepts as an independent, because as an independent, you don't have that pool of money, because you think of some of Hollywood, like what's happening with these Indiana Jones, where they're going to not just lose like millions of dollars, they're going to literally lose hundreds of millions of dollars on that. Yeah. Independent makes a mistake like that, they're out of business. That's it. They invest that amount of money to where they sustain a loss like that. They're done. They're completely done. They're going bankrupt at minimum. So you can't separate those, and that's why you focus on them as if they're intertwined. And that's, I think, why the Rippaverse, for example, is seeing the success it is that it is, because I'm looking at it through the lens of not just a creative lens, but also as a businessman. And as a businessman, I understand that they're intertwined.
Well, yeah, but you're doing both together. A lot of times people will either focus all on the business side. Well, it's number crunching and we're going to make decisions based upon numbers. But you're like, no. We also got to make decisions based upon our audience too, and their needs and stuff. So I love that. I love that viewpoint that you have.
Well, and you also had this crazy thing. I didn't know about this, but I was watching a video about the Teen Titans. And I'm a big fan of the Teen Titans. I grew up on the new Teen Titans, Marv Wolfman and I can't think of his name, George Perez. And then my daughter grew up on the new Teen Titans cartoon show. So, we bonded over that and everything. And I thought that show was so great. And, it lasted for 5-6 seasons. And then all of a sudden it kind of disappears. Well, there's a video. I can't think of the guy who does the video, but he was talking about it, and he was telling how the problem with the Teen Titans was it targeted too many demographics, that they went out of their demographics. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I would think that would be a good thing, to target many demographics and not just staying with one demographic, So I think that's a problem that Hollywood has also, we focus on just this one category of people, and that's it. We can't go outside of that. And it's like, what is your problem? You know,
Well,
I don't understand that.
I think the biggest issue with it's less of just the target of the demographic. It's more of the demographic that they're targeting either, again, doesn't exist, or they don't have the capital to even spend the money on. So when they chase the opinion, like, I don't know what neon hair colored people that they got working over there at some of these big companies, but I know they're watching the Twitters and they're watching the TikToks of the world, and they're thinking that's why they make these bonehead decisions, because they're like, well, that type of person, that's who we need to target, because that's the end thing. And it's like, well, that person, do those types have capital to even spend money on your product?
Yeah,
do they trend towards actually paying for this type of medium? The answer is often no, they don't. So they're out of their target demo. They're out of the actual demographic of people that even have the capital to spend. So, you know, expanding for new customers is more about having an idea in mind of who your audience is and targeting that and trying to branch from that. That way, at minimum, your bases are covered, right? Because what Marvel, let's say, for example, in the DCs of the world have done in recent years was that they completely neglected their audience, their core audience, for the sake of trying to appeal to an audience that doesn't really exist. That's just such a boneheaded mistake, and why they're suffering right now. I just covered a story of some of these comic book retailers finally catching up to, you know, after being late on this. Like, oh, well, everything's on a decline, right? And it's like, yeah, well, look, have you read a modern comic book? Like, these guys, there's nothing in outside of releasing a number one and hoping the speculators and the collectors get in on it. Like 2, 3, 4, nobody's interested in it, because they're not. Who are you writing for? You're not writing for the audience of people, number one, that have the capital and have proven that this is a medium that they're intrigued by and interested in. And you have to you have to have people that see it that way. So you don't sacrifice them like, oh, I want to appeal to this type of demographic. So what I'm going to do is say, like, which is what the big dogs have done, is they've done it worse. And they're like, I'm going to do things to spite the audience that already exists. Seeing what they're doing to the Punisher right now is a prime example. They don't like who likes the Punisher. They don't like the people that adopt the symbol. They don't like the people that have favored him. So what do? They go out of their way to abuse them in the books, to basically take it to those guys. And now they've completely replaced Frank Castle. In these recent books. Like, that's an example of just a all around bonehead, spiteful decision where they're saying, you know what? We're going to push out the core demographic to appeal to this other one who's not even going to buy the book.
That's true. You know, I also don't understand how come, like, for instance, with the latest Flash movie, or, well, the Flash movie, I should say, because that's the only one. But, you know, they sold us on Flashpoint. And Flashpoint is one of my all-time favorite DC stories. I love Flashpoint. It's a great story. It was a great way for them to reboot the universe. I mean, they could have used this as the perfect kickoff into the James Gunn era of DC, and they completely screwed it up. You know, it's like, I mean, there were some, don't get me wrong, there were some enjoyable things in that movie. There were some things I actually liked in the movie. But I wanted to see Flashpoint, and I didn't get Flashpoint. And it's like, you had a comic book that has been beloved for well over a decade, and you had the building blocks, and you could have even incorporated it into your new era, and you just threw it all away. I don't understand why they do stuff like that. It makes no sense to me.
Both of them do that. Marvel and DC are often
you're right.
You know, they what they do is they'll take tidbits of like what existed before it, like as far as that's a beloved story, and then they figure it's because of Hollywood. That's their attitude. Their attitude is they think they know better than everybody. So adapting stuff with the source material that people already showed that they liked is like insulting them. So they feel like I got to put my spin on it. So here's this bastardized version of a concept that you're slightly familiar with, you know what I mean? Which is why they only pull from it loosely. So it's there. Here's this character that you like, but it's only the character in name. Here's this storyline that was uber popular. but we're just gonna like change all the core elements of it.
Right.
So it's like only a skeleton of itself. They do that goofy stuff. And to my man's Andrew point here, they don't really like the people that work on these products don't understand the products at all. And I don't think they're even being like set up for success. It's more of, hey, just here's the character, here's a I don't know, the costume and how it looks. You go do whatever the hell you want. And that's what they do. They just go do whatever they want. And the audience picks up on that stuff. You know what I mean? I think people were late to it. I remember talking about some of these movies. And some of them were if I enjoyed it, I'll be honest. I'll say, okay, this is solid. But when they were bastardized stuff, it's like I'll say this for example. So they had a great opportunity with the whole Thanos stuff, right? And obviously they pulled that from the Infinity Gauntlet arc. Is where that's where this whole stuff, the snap, that's where it first started. That's where it's all doing. Two core things that they thought to just completely remove. For whatever reason, Thanos doing what he was doing for death. They just said, we're just not going to do it.
Right. They didn't bring up death at all.
At all. So they said, we're just not going to do it. Right. And the other thing, and I know this is going to just really, this aggravates me, is that, okay, imagine setting up the Infinity Gauntlet arc and you choose to bring Adam Warlock after you've ended it. The dumbest mistake that these idiots over at Marvel did. You bring Adam, who was so core to that, obviously him and Silver Surfer, but we're core to that, and you just say, "Oh, we'll bring them in, but we're gonna bring them after this whole Thanos thing is over." It's one of the dumbest mistakes. It was a layup, as I call it all the time. But that's the type of stuff it is that I'm talking about with these companies.
Yeah, even how they treated the Adam Warlock character after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a bastardized version. It's not Adam Warlock. It's just a bastardized version of the character.
Yeah.
Well, I think this. Am I saying right? Sosta sisters.
Saska sisters. Yep.
Saska. Sorry. I'm still trying to learn her name.
Thank you.
I think they had said that some of these companies actually have rules stating no fans are allowed to work.
The reason being is because they think that it'll be a hiccup in the production by having someone's input where they're going to say, basically, you know too much. So it's better that you don't know it all. James Gunn admitted this. Well, I think he's the most overrated guy that adapts comics. He admitted this. He flat out admitted this with Peacemaker. He said that even though John Cena, and to his credit, Cena's credit, was willing to learn about that character, James Gunn specifically told him not to do it. He said, James Gunn said, don't go read the books. Don't go read the books because they wanted their own little thing. And that's the type of stuff that they do. They do that. It's like they don't want folks that know it because that gets in the way of these narcissistic, egotistical people who, instead of adopting what exists and making, and that's how you show your creativity. You show your creativity by taking something that's been done and established, and then you take that and you make it presentable in this new medium. That should be the job of the directors and the producers right there. It's not I got to give it the gun touch. I got to give it this touch. I got to give it that touch. You don't do that. You're what you're trying to do is say, this is what it worked, right? Otherwise, we're not even doing it. It worked. It worked. How do we cross that into this new medium and make it digestible but that's not how. It's like almost being egotistical is a prerequisite. So they make it about them. This is why they have to always put their own spin on it, because they feel insulted by adapting and adopting the source material, even though it's so painfully obvious. Like, it worked. You just do it.
Yeah, I was just processing, thinking about asking if it was ego over the creation, the creator side, the creative.
That's what it is. It's straight ego. These guys are, and again, if for people that have worked in some way close to Hollywood figures, you kind of figure like that's almost a prerequisite to be there. You know what I mean? Like, they have to make it all about them, and that's what it is. So they go in there, be in the writer's room or anything like that. They're looking at it like, well, I got to put my spin on it, right? So it has to be, So what, this story that was already done is so great and beloved. Who cares? I'll take some bits and pieces of it, but then we got to make sure that I have my own touch. So that's the problem, and why so much of this material is so bad. So even though it seems obvious, it's like, why don't you just do what worked? Like, what is the point of bringing in Thanos and not doing the whole? That's the reason why he does what it is that he's trying to court death. Literally, that's what he's trying to do.
Right?
Why on earth would you just leave that out? Like, why? It was such a layup because from that, like for example, to me, I think the Captain Marvel movie, and this is what happens if I'm in charge, a guy that actually reads all this stuff. If I'm in charge, I don't put a Captain Marvel movie in between Infinity War and Endgame. I put a Thanos origin film in that movie, because then what you're able to do is all those aspects that I just mentioned. You could bring that up. Even the Marvel situation, which again, that was the one that to me is my most frustrating thing that happened for me, is that there is no Marvel. It's some chick that is just obviously Marvel in name, which is like that's Thanos' first big adversary, right? Is Marvel, and it's not even a thing there. But that could have been your introduction. It also could, because you think about how Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers, I don't know why I'm calling Captain Marvel, I shouldn't call it that. Carol Danvers comes flying in at Endgame. That should have been Adam Warlock. That should have been his moment. That should have been his moment to come in and actually save the day there, much like what he did in the Infinity Gauntlet arc. That's the obvious thing to do. But because they don't have guys there that know this material or care enough about it, well, you get what it is that you got. And then they got so cocky to where, we're just crapping out $1 billion movies because we're at the height and we're at the peak. And then they go into that into Eternals. And it's like, well, what in the world? And then they lay egg after egg after egg after egg with all these recent movies because they thought they could do no wrong. And that's what happens when you don't have people that know what they're doing. That's part of these companies. Even with the Eternals, they introduced it for goofy reasons. But even
I couldn't even watch that.
Yeah,
show.
I hear that that's just unwatchable. But even with that being said, none of those characters are their characters. Like between Selma Hayek playing like Ajax. Like what the hell is that? Like these are just them in name. That's it. That's just all it is. And first of all, nobody really asked for an Eternals movie, but they did it in the worst way possible. So, in some cases, as much as I, as a fan of this material, got frustrated, I'm like, they get what they deserve. When I see these trailers, I'm like, they get what they deserve.
But as a fan, you would like to see, your stories played out. Your favorite, like I said, Flashpoint's one of my all-time favorites. I want to see it done correctly, and there's no reverse Flash, and it is.
I gotta say this though, man, preach it, Eric. I've been taken to church today. This is great stuff.
Now, hey, I want to compliment you and your team, because you guys really take the customer and collectors in their consideration. This is the box that I received ISOM 1 in, and it is so well packed that there is nothing that could, I know it's hard to see it on the screen, there is nothing that could have damaged this comic. And I really appreciate you guys and the effort that you guys put into making sure that we get a undamaged product. I really
that's a completely custom. Like I went to, we had that. It was personally engineered. It was one of those things. Like we were like, okay, I get it. There's these other boxes. Like we could have went those routes. That the industry standards of those like comic book folders, and we're like, you know what? Why don't we make our own thing? And we make it so damn sturdy that the UPS guys could punt it, and there would be nothing that would happen to that book. And that's how we came up with
like the Jim Carrey scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even if they did all that, like we look, so we sent out like almost 60,000 books, and I mean we had the amount of returns, like damage, like it was almost nothing, right? Because that's what we wanted to invest in. We wanted to make sure that we invested in in quality. I'm willing to spend extra to make sure that this material gets to these gets to the end like the actual person that's getting it in as perfect condition as realistically possible. So I've seen people, which I don't even know how the world, there are some 10 graded ones that we shipped out, like not great, like not going from printer to CGC. There are the highest grade that you can get that we sent to the customer. So that in itself says that we take for sure care of our material. We bag and board, obviously, everything, and we make sure that box is as sturdy as all get out.
Worth every penny.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. And I have to say, I thought you were smart with where you started ISOM, because we kind of get him in the center, you know, like we learn that, or we get a tease that he has dropped out of the superhero game, and we don't know why, but we know for some reason he's dropped out, and then he gets pulled back into it. So you can continue that story from where it's at, which is obviously what you're doing right now. But if you want to, you can go back and tell the origin of him and have a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought that was very smart. I thought it was a great play on what you did.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that was you know, and that's a cool way for us to kind of fill in those gaps. You know, the big thing that's going to be revealed, obviously, in to your point, in this upcoming book is why ISOM, you know, quit. You know, that's what we made sure we put on the cover. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna learn exactly about that, as I said right here, why it quit. Because to your point, you know, it's starting with him. Like he's obviously already been around the block. So you know, I thought to do that because it was like ISOM, the book had. It was a tall order, right? Because not only were we launching his story, we had to launch the universe per se. We're launching the entire
right.
As well. So, you know, that's why I figured, okay, if we started here, there'll be bits and pieces, branches, branch off points that we could kind of go from that will for sure be intriguing to this audience. And I think we did it in as good of a way that we possibly could. You know, we got the introduction of Yaira, we got the introduction of the Alpha Core, which are our next books. So even though it's his story, we were able to tell it in a way that launches the universe. And that was a difficult thing. And I can say this as a writer, you know, because, you know, I encourage people all the time. Like, look, if you're writing, George R.R. Martin talks about how he wrote himself in the corner. If you don't want to do that, you have to be mindful of not just the now. I think so many people get caught up in trying to the instant gratification, and they get so caught up in trying to tell everything all at once, the coolest, most extravagant, intergalactic, the world's on the line. Everybody wants to tell these stories instead of looking at it like, well, what if this hits? You know, you want to keep telling the story 5 years from now, 10 years.
Right. Yeah,
15.
exactly.
You have to lay that foundation from the jump. You don't, because then what ends up happening? You end up like a Marvel and DC, where you're constantly having to reboot the world because, you know, you got off to the wrong foot. So it was a tall order, and I think we pulled it off as good as we're going to realistically pull it off in ISOM, to not just launch his story, even though it's his story, it is that we're launching. We had to launch the entire universe.
So do you see a animation in the future?
Obviously, you know, we did drop the animated trailer for ISOM 2, which you know, that was a filler. That was okay, let's see where that market is. And we actually had a benchmark that I think it was at the 750K mark. I said, if we hit that, I can promise y'all more of it. So actually, I'm in the process of building an internal team. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that, to produce these. And that's one of our worthwhile investments. The monetization of it's going to be a little tricky, but I can for sure promise you more of those.
It was great. It was fun. I loved it.
I appreciate that. And because obviously we want to do something that's a little more longer format and all that. And we're working on it. I'm just building a team right now to try to see how that's going to look, make it make sense financially. Mm-hmm. But there is a massive demand for that. And we were shown that. And that's why we put out a trailer to say, okay, let's see how people respond to this. And the fact that people were like, we need more of that, that tells me all I need to know.
Well, it caused us to ask, because I liked it so much. We were like, are they going to do animated? I don't know. Let's ask.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it got legitimized with the response and the reception that we got from it. So yeah, I think we just do it. I think we just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric, how are you doing on time, man? This has been just an incredible conversation. But we want to be respectful for you, I appreciate
that. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I got a little. I know we just hit the hour mark, so I got a little bit more time. If you got some more questions and whatnot. Again, I appreciate you guys certainly having me here, man. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we do at the end of all of our episodes, I'm not saying we have to be at the end of it, but right now I'm just want to say, we normally say who our affiliate sponsors are and that kind of stuff. I'm going to forgo all that. I'm going to tell everybody, we're not getting paid for this. Go to Rippaverse.com. This is a non-affiliated sponsorship because this is such great stuff. This has been just an incredible conversation, not just about the industry, but really about your leadership, how you're doing Rippaverse, the inspiration of what that is and what that can be to so many people. Check it out. There you'll find the links, the campaigns, the price of the books. As you can tell, everything about that pricing is on purpose and it's worth every penny. So please, this is not just a money grab. This is about taking care of people, taking care of the industry, blazing a new trail of a decentralized framework of really what creatives and comics can truly be and mean. And so Eric, thank you for that. I just want to make sure everybody goes there, Rippaverse.com.
Thank you so much.
Please go check it out. So there's different covers for the different ones. I mean, we just saw, it was so funny, Eric, that Mike, before you came on, we're doing our pre-show stuff. He's like, oh, this is the one I bought, the one with the moon on it, know, kind of a thing. And you hold it up. And so that was just a great fun
I love how this day came out. Oh. Man. It's a little bit of change of pace, but I think this is going to be like one of those, like the identifier, like people see this image, they're going to be like, that's that ISOM 2 cover. So we were having a debate. It's like, is he holding I said lightning rod is what he's holding on there. Well, he's on, if you see it, the end of ISOM 1 kind of gives it away, kind of where he kind of, what he does, like at the end of that fight with Santuan. You kind of see him being on like the rooftops and doing stuff like that. So you can see kind of as he makes his mark what it is that he likes to do and where he likes to be. But yeah, that cover turned out so good. Turney and even being able to get Shadran like out in the background, you can see kind of his face there, and I absolutely love how it turned out. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's the mass print cover, man. That's the one that we got to go with because it looks. Yeah, I think I want a display of that. Yeah.
I'm a huge Batman fan, and I just got Batman vibes from that. I'm like, to me, this looks similar to a Batman cover. That's the one I'm going for, man.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Very cool. So I was curious, what is your inspiration for ISOM? Who inspired you?
I would say it's less anybody specific and more of what I had observed growing up from other people. That's really what embodies ISOM. It's more of, me being, for example, I bounce between like the country as well as of Arkansas, as well as, inner city of Dallas. So I've seen it all. I've seen like both of those like different forms of living. And I was able to pick up on things that like my uncle did, with him being, being on his own on his property with his horses and all that sort of stuff.
So that's the rancher aspect.
Yeah, you see that. So, it's things that I observe, you know what I mean? I had my own upbringing, you know what I mean? Where I could have used bits and pieces of that, but I figured like I've met a lot of cool people, in my life, and I got to see them do their thing. And that's really what ISOM is. It's what I had observed from other people that some it were very vital in my life, and others not so much. It was just people that I just picked up on doing cool things, and I thought about that as a trait as I'm building them out. So it was more just what I observed from some people close to me, others not so much, and I kind of packaged it all and took bits and pieces of it. And definitely as people learn more about the character. Maybe again, I'll tell those stories 10 years from now, like, hey, this story is a story of my uncle. And, this is a story of this guy I once met when I was shucking corn on my grandmother's in my grandmother's garden or just whatever. And doing stuff like that and talking about that, I think is going to be fun for years to come, because I kind of just took all of what I observed and traits from people that I observed and I mixed it all up. And that's kind of how we got ISOM. Nice.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite comic books?
Well, it's funny. We just mentioned, I know you mentioned George Perez and stuff. And, I mentioned Starlin as well. to me, the Crisis on Infinite Earths has to be one of my favorite. Well, obviously, it's the first big major kind of crossover event thing that comics had did. But for me, I love that it was one of the few times where a company like of that size admits fault and they try to do something to correct it. And I was just going so crazy with the multiversal stuff. And what the Crisis on Infinite Earths tried to do is like, okay, let's just try to merge everything and get one kind of, yeah, they went back on it. They messed that up. But considering that,
they went back several times.
Yeah, several times. There's like 17 crises, right?
Oh, wait, Crisis was successful. Let's do it again.
Exactly.
And again. Oh, wait, and again.
Then there's the Final Crisis, and then there's this crisis.
Oh, wait, yeah. Final Crisis. Oh, wait, just Crisis one more time.
Yeah, exactly. So it really wasn't the Final Crisis. There was another one.
Ozzy Osbourne did his No More Tours tour back in '92, I believe it was, which I went to that tour. That was an awesome tour. And he said that was it. He's retiring. There will be no more. And then the very next year, he comes out with the Retirement Sucks tour.
Yeah, exactly. And that's their approach. But the story in itself and what it meant both for what the company was trying to do, I think was really, for me, one that always stuck with me. And obviously, it was just you can't really go wrong with that. And, even seeing what, even on the other side, what Marvel did with the cosmic stuff as well, I thought was always cool. From talking about Thanos and Marvel and all of what cosmic Marvel stuff. So all of that stuff was kind of what I was stuck with me. I know that's kind of a different change of pace than what ISOM is, but trust me, we'll get there. It'll just take us time. I don't want to do the intergalactic, all that stuff yet. Like,
right.
Let's take our time. I want if we ever do events and stuff, I want that stuff to matter. So yeah, I would say certainly as far as one that always stuck with me, it had to be Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Nice.
I will say this. I do like your emphasis on storytelling and the long haul, not doing everything now. It's like, no, we're in this. I think it sends for fans, it sends us a signal that you're not just trying to do a money grab. Yep. You are really investing in us. You're really wanting to give us what we are really truly looking for. And thank you just for that mindset, just being that way. That's just, I'm thankful for it. And I am looking forward to seeing how all this pans out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so looking forward to the whole Rippaverse. Yara, she intrigues me. I want to know more about her, where she comes from, who she is, what are her powers. Yeah. I want to know about ISOM's powers. Yeah. There's theories online.
Yeah, I know. I've seen those.
What do you think about some of the theories?
I love it because that's what this is about. Like, that's what comics used to be about. Like, it was about that level of intrigue, and that's what got lost in it, where people are trying to do so much so early, but also like in the day of the TikTok age of instant gratification, competing against it. And like, you got to understand, back when comics were its heyday, we didn't have the social media. There was to understand what happened next. It was just chats with your other fellow comic book guys, and in anticipation for the next material. There was we didn't have any of that stuff. We didn't have, so to see a genuine fan base like build up in a genuine fandom, and I don't help these guys. Like, people ask me, what about this? I shrug my shoulders. I say, I don't know. I mean, obviously I know, but I don't know. I'm not telling you, because I want you guys to have fun. I want you guys to have the theories. That used to be what this medium was all about. And to see people doing that stuff, I keep tabs on that. And I see some people have nailed it. Some people are on the complete opposite end of what we're going to do. But that's what it's about. It's about having that conversation and having that fun and that fandom building. That's what's missing right now in comics. And the fact that people are doing this with the Rippaverse means a lot to me. And I want to keep that up, so I don't hold these guys' hands. I know I stream a lot. I'm out there. I'm really accessible. But people ask me, hey, what about this? What about that? And I'm always like, I don't know. You have to read the next book. Hey, what is why is Yara doing? I don't know. Maybe you read the next Saskia Sisters book, and maybe you'll figure out what's going to happen. That's what this medium used to be about, and to see people embracing it again it's been an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, I saw one theory out there that ISOM might mimic other people's abilities because it looks like he gets stronger through the issue and such. I thought that was an interesting idea, and I'm like, I don't know if he's going there, but I like your thinking.
Guess what? He doesn't know either. He ain't going to tell you.
I know. I'm fishing, but yeah, he's not biting. I know it.
That's what it's about.
I know. Read ISOM too, and I got it on order. I'm waiting for it.
There you go. You'll learn a lot there. You for sure will learn a lot there.
But I'm excited. I can't wait for it. I think you got the buildings of a good universe, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm in for the long haul, man.
That's what it's about. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being a customer, man. Of the work, man, and that's what this is about. I'm just glad you're satisfied, obviously, with your purchase, and I'm glad you're intrigued enough by the story to get the next one. So we're gonna keep doing everything we can to keep you around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I think it's branching off in all these other ones. We're like, oh my goodness, I've got to know my own character fault of I'm so impatient that I'm like, nope, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. I keep telling myself it's going to be worth it.
Thank you.
So excellent. Well, we better wrap things up. We know you are a busy man, and we so thank you so much for your time, the wisdom that you shared. This wasn't just about just comic books. This was all about leadership. It was all about trust. I mean, everything that you shared has been a blessing. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
And I appreciate y'all, man. Again, this has been fun. I appreciate y'all making this fun for me, and I'm just, again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you being here. Hey, if you could stick around just for a couple minutes after we close, because we'd like to talk to you off the air for just a few minutes. I don't want to keep you too long, but all right. So
we'll
with
go
that,
ahead and wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you need to say, Stephen?
Yeah. Go to Rippaverse.com and start buying some books, everybody.
There you go. Awesome. Hey, Eric, does ISOM have a tagline at all? I didn't really catch a tagline.
Well, there is if you go, actually, you kind of pick up on it. He does say a phrase, right? And if you see the the Ket Street shirt, that's kind of indicative of what it is it's a turn of phrase it is that he says often. And see some people in the chat caught on to that for sure. So that's his little phrase that he says.
Look at him. He's all
okay. All right. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
We'll end it. So go for it, Mike.
The only reason I ask is because I try to end with some kind of catchphrase from whatever topic we're talking. So I guess since looks like I think this is it. So see you next time. Over and out, and Ket Street. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,